In a world where VR games have become the norm, second-year Hizutomi Rakurou is known as the trash game hunter or a plain old freak for his love of playing low-quality games. But when he starts feeling exhausted from this, he decides to give the popular game Shangri-La Frontier a shot, and in doing so, he's reminded that playing great games can be a blast too. But can even a gamer as skilled as Rakurou uncover all the hidden secrets within Shangri-La Frontier? After completing another crappy game and exacting his revenge on the bratty princess by kicking her in the face, Rakurou puts the game with other titles that are never to be played again. Later, Rakurou makes his way to school, which is surprising since these gamers never get to experience the beauty of sunlight. Unbeknownst to Rakurou, a girl eagerly waits to greet him, but before Ray could get the chance to approach him, Rakurou's friend unintentionally blocks his chances to achieve the honeypot by engaging him in a conversation about games. And folks, this is how the human population will die out. On the other hand, Mana Iwamaki readies her store rock roll for the gamers starting their summer breaks. Ray enters the store and looks around, but Mana informs her that the person her eyes so desperately seek is not here at the moment. She goes on to explain that he's engrossed in playing a special trash game and hasn't been able to drop by for a while. This particular game is called Feria Chronicle, and Mana anticipates that it takes anyone quite a bit of time to complete it. Hearing Mana explain the game, Ray realizes that she had heard about this game from her sister, and Mana confirms that it's indeed a legendary trash game with terrible AI allies, ridiculous enemy attack patterns, and loads of bugs. It requires a highly skilled player to even defeat the first boss, and many players end up feeling so frustrated that they end up throwing their headsets. What's more, you have to face the final boss wearing nothing but shorts and a mask. In that very moment, the person Ray has been longing to see finally steps into the store, asking Mana if she has any other trash games. As soon as she spots Rakurou, Ray swiftly conceals herself. Mana is taken aback by the fact that Rakurou has already completed the game, to which Rakurou nods in agreement. He proceeds to explain that it's a truly awful game, and the female lead is, without a doubt, the worst part of it all. Feria, the character, is the source of every problem throughout the journey, consistently making situations worse and even getting both villagers and party members killed. Sounds like they made the characters way too realistic. Being the only one with working brain cells, Mana suggests that he should give something other than a trash game a shot, like Shangri-La Frontier, a game that boasts over 30 million players. After some contemplation, Rakurou decides to give the game a try. Reaching home, Rakurou decides to start playing the game, which is developed by Utopia Entertainment Software, UES, a company founded by genius programmer Tsukuyo Tsukuri, who developed the fully immersive VR game system. As Rakurou logs in, he is presented with a menu to create his character. Rakurou starts by choosing his job, but he's surprised at how many options there are. He settles for a twin-blade mercenary, as it sounds flexible. For his origin, Rakurou selects Wanderer because it offers a luck bonus, affecting crit chance and item drop rates. Next, Rakurou begins designing his character's appearance and is overwhelmed by the many options, as he's used to very limited choices from the trash games. He's not into fashion and prefers to prioritize weapons over armor. Since there's an option to sell the starting gear and weapons are expensive, Rakurou decides to do that and earns 9,000 game currency. Being half naked, Rakurou opts to hide his face with a bird mask. As for his name, he chooses Sunraku, a name Rakurou uses in every game. Skipping the story introduction, Sunraku dives right into the game. Sunraku finds himself in a forest, and is amazed by how lifelike his movements are in the game. He decides to test out his character's abilities and opens the in-game map to figure out where he is. Normally, players in these games start in a beginner's tutorial town, but those with the Wanderer origin begin in random spots in the beginner's area. Sunraku checks the map and sees that he's located in the rampant forest, right next to Firstia town. He makes his way toward the town, keeping an eye out for anything interesting along the way. Curiosity piqued, Sunraku checks his character's stats, but his moment of contemplation is rudely interrupted when an Ugo goblin launches an attack on him. Reacting quickly, he equips his mercenary twin blades and dispatches the goblin with a single decisive strike. Not only does this victory level him up, but he also loots a goblin hand axe from his defeated foe. While Sunraku is still in the midst of exploring the area, something rustles in the nearby bushes. Suddenly, a Vorpal rabbit leaps out, launching an aggressive attack. Sunraku's heart races as he tries to dodge the bunny's furious strikes. Surprised by the bunny's formidable strength, he does his best to hold his ground. With deft movements, Sunraku manages to ward off the bunny's assault and delivers a devastating counterattack. The Vorpal bunny isn't done, though, and it launches another assault. This time, it relentlessly targets Sunraku's neck. Anticipating its moves, Sunraku blocks the attacks and eventually wins over the powerful bunny. The battle not only brings him more experience but also results in a surprising development. Sunraku unlocks a new skill called Flash Counter, which enhances his counterattacks after successful counterattacks. Excited by the possibility of mastering various fighting styles, he starts searching for more Vorpal bunnies in the hopes of obtaining their kitchen knives. Sunraku's excitement grows as he realizes he hasn't encountered any game-breaking bugs so far. It's a stark contrast to his experience with trash games, which were typically plagued with technical issues. This dumbass was really expecting a high-class experience from games that have literally been dubbed as trash. Sunraku keeps leveling up and learning new skills, like Spin Slash, which seems really handy. He figures out that Vorpal bunnies are rare in the game and goes on a mission to defeat 50 of them to get Vorpal choppers, weapons that deal extra critical damage. Sunraku also picks up abilities like Screw Pierce, a fast and effective move. Once he reaches level 12, he realizes that he won't gain much more experience from the local monsters and checks the map and comes to know that he has strayed far from Firstia and is now near Secondale. To get there, he'll need to cross a bridge guarded by a tough boss, the Ravenous Snake. The game suggests that it's best to be at level 10 with a party of 3 to take on this challenge. But of course, our boy decides to face the challenge alone. Since Firstia is considered noob level, the townies there stare at the high-level knight in complete shock. It turns out, Ray had entered the town in hopes of finding Rakurou. In the meantime, facing the Ravenous Snake boss, Sunraku starts by observing its moves. He activates Tap Step, a skill that helps him dodge the snake's attacks. He attacks the snake, but his weapons start to wear down and eventually one of his blades breaks, so Sunraku decides to switch to the Vorpal choppers. As he goes in for a Screw Pierce attack, the snake spits something from its tail and Sunraku gets poisoned, which leads to him taking damage every 10 seconds. He knows this game doesn't rely on random critical hits but rather attacking the right way or hitting weak spots. Since the snake is covered in tough scales, Sunraku figures the head might be a weak point. But it's not easy to hit. So he comes up with a plan to create his own weak point. He uses Screw Pierce to stab the snake and cause a wound. Then he focuses on attacking that wound to land critical hits. The snake doesn't go down, though, and pushes Sunraku away while healing the wound. He realizes he might have been a bit arrogant, thinking this game would be a walk in the park compared to the trash games he's played. Well, it's time for this Icarus to touch some grass. When the snake tries to make a meal out of him, Sunraku takes action. He quickly unequips one of his blades and uses his free hand to grab the snake's head. With precision, he executes a Screw Pierce, targeting the snake's left eye. This powerful strike lands as a critical hit, ultimately defeating the snake and ending the battle. At the front gates of Secondale, Reiji suggests to Mia that she might want to tame a dog-like monster in the game. Mia agrees, mentioning her apartment doesn't allow pets, so she'd love to have one in Shangri-La Frontier. This news excites Reiji, as he's been waiting for 3 months to play the game with his crush, Mia. Just as they discuss this, they notice Sunraku sprinting towards them. Mia panics, thinking he might be a monster, but Reiji points out the player name above Sunraku's head. He also warns Mia that attacking a player would give her a skull icon next to her name. As they wonder why Sunraku is running so fast, Reiji calls out to him and directs him to the inn nearby, suggesting he get to a bed to set his respawn point. Sunraku expresses his gratitude as he passes by. Reiji shares that many players ran with the same urgency when the game first started. Mia appreciates Reiji's knowledge and considers him a seasoned player, which she finds hot. Bro really rizzed her up with his gaming skills. Later, Sunraku explores the town but gets laughed at for his odd appearance. After buying cheap clothes, Sunraku visits a weapon shop but doesn't find anything worth buying, so the NPC directs him to a place called Daira Marsh Waste where he can get materials, implying that he can craft a weapon for him. Following the NPC's advice, Sunraku reaches the Daira Marsh but quickly realizes mining is not his cup of tea. After sucking up and getting his task completed, Sunraku achieves new weapons and decides to try them out on a monster called Redcap Goblin. The goblin calls his brethren, but Sunraku quickly defeats them and faces a special monster, a wolf called Lycagon, the Night Slayer. Rei meets Reiji and Mia, inquiring about a player named Sunraku. Reiji reveals that Sunraku was poisoned by a ravenous snake and headed to Secondale, describing his peculiar appearance. Rei realizes Sunraku skipped the first town and departs. Reiji notices her clan emblem, dedicated to hunting a unique monster named Lycagon the Night Slayer. He explains to Mia that unique monsters are one of a kind and don't respawn, unlike normal monsters. The game has 7 such unique monsters, known as the 7 Colossi, with unknown spawn criteria. Facing the formidable Lycagon the Night Slayer, Sunraku quickly realizes his vulnerability. A single hit from Lycagon could spell defeat. Managing a perfect parry, Sunraku counters but to no effect. Equipping the Vorpal choppers, he scores critical hits on Lycagon's paw and dodges attacks. After 5 minutes of dodging and landing critical hits, Sunraku's weapons weaken, and he senses Lycagon is beyond his level. Yet, he continues, enjoying the challenge. Lycagon howls, immobilizing Sunraku. With lightning speed, Lycagon strikes, leaving Sunraku with 1 horsepower. Sunraku admires Lycagon's strength and decides to beat it eventually. However, Lycagon bites him, applying a fatal curse. Respawning in Secondale's Inn, Sunraku discovers that he's cursed by the Lycagon, which prevents him from equipping armor on the cursed slots, makes weaker monsters flee. Moreover, NPC dialogue will be affected. Frustration bubbles within him due to the armor limitation, but he decides to take advantage of the situation and levels up to 28 by battling Lycagon, gaining 50 points to spend. Due to the curse, he can't invest in vitality. He also suspects his high luck stat saved him when Lycagon left him with 1 horsepower. Moments later, a strange Vorpal bunny lands on Sunraku's head and leads him to an alley with a mysterious door labeled Invitation from Rabbituza. Sunraku recognizes it as a unique scenario quest, known for granting exceptional equipment, skills, and spells. He enters the door, unaware of its recommended level of 80. Inside, he finds town of Vorpal bunnies called Rabbituza. The bunny from earlier, Amal, greets him and commends his courage against Lycagon. She explains that their boss wants to meet Sunraku, assuring him that it's not because he murdered countless bunnies. Sunraku reaches the palace and learns he's the first to enter it. Upon meeting Visake, the boss of Rabbituza, Sunraku gets praised for not losing his Vorpal soul after facing the Lycagon. That's it for now, but if you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for a lot more fun stuff.